Welcome to the All Sorts Podcast. We're diving deep into your curiosities, and today we're tackling a mystery that has baffled scholars for centuries. The Voynich Manuscript. Just imagine a book filled with strange symbols, fantastical plants, and diagrams that seem to whisper secrets from a forgotten world. It's a puzzle that has captivated historians, linguists, and code breakers alike for centuries, and I have just the right person to help us try to understand it. Joining me today is an expert in deciphering the past. Thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
You know, this manuscript, it seems to inspire a wide range of interpretations, from scholarly articles and research papers to some very bold claims about the meaning of the book. So before we get lost in the labyrinth of theories, let's set the stage a little bit. The Voynich Manuscript itself, it's a codex, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's a handwritten book made of vellum pages. And what's so interesting is the codicology of it. The study of manuscripts as physical objects is how the pages are numbered and gathered into quires. Yeah, you can think of them as like little booklets within the larger book. And what's interesting is the numbering suggests that some pages are missing and that the order of the quires might have been changed at some point, which adds yet another layer of complexity to the puzzle.
So we have this jumbled codex, written in Voynichese, as it's been dubbed. What makes this script so difficult to decipher?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is that Voynichese, it doesn't really align with any known alphabet or language. Statistical analysis has shown that while it does have some features in common with natural languages, its character sequences are much more predictable.
So not random gibberish, but not quite like any language we know. I mean, it's fascinating. This predictability has led some researchers to believe that it might not be a code at all, but rather a natural language written in a unique script. But then some others argue it could point to a cleverly constructed hoax. It seems like Voynichese is at the heart of this mystery.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the way researchers have interpreted its features has really kind of shaped the major theories about the manuscript's meaning, whether it's a cipher, steganography, a natural language, or a hoax.
Okay, so let's start with cipher. Is that basically the idea that the Voynich manuscript is a coded message? Like something you would need a secret decoder ring to understand.
Exactly.
Have there been any famous code breakers who have attempted to crack this Voynich cipher?
Oh, yeah, tons, including teams from the NSA during the Cold War, hoping it might be some kind of, wartime communication. But even with all their expertise, the Voynich manuscript has remained completely undeciphered.
Which only adds to the mystery.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so now steganography, that's a whole other approach, isn't it? It's more cloak and dagger.
Yeah, steganography is all about concealing a message within something else. Think invisible ink. Or, hiding a microdot in an image. In this case, the message could be concealed within the illustrations or even the seemingly meaningless text itself.
So the secret message could be hidden in plain sight. We just don't know how to look for it. That's a really tough one to wrap your head around. Because if the steganography is good, it could be virtually undetectable. This manuscript is really an enigma.
Yeah.
Okay. So now the natural language theory. That's the idea that Voynichese, despite its quirks, could represent an actual language written in an unknown script.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a researcher, Stephen Bax, who proposed that it was a treatise on nature written in a natural language?
Yes, he believed he had identified proper nouns linked to the illustrations, but he unfortunately passed away before he could really fully develop his theory.
Oh, wow.
But it remains an intriguing possibility.
It's like a detective story where the lead detective just vanishes.
Oh.
And then there's the theory that it's all an elaborate hoax.
Right.
Which would be...
So some researchers do suggest that the statistical patterns in Voynichese could be artificial, mimicking the structure of language but without conveying any real meaning.
So it could be a very elaborate, very well-crafted piece of gibberish, perhaps designed to fool someone.
Yeah.
Or simply as a form of artistic expression.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if it is a hoax, what was the motive behind creating such a complex and intricate manuscript?
Right.
Maybe the creator just really loved puzzles.
Maybe.
Okay, so I understand there have been quite a few claims of people actually cracking the Voynich code.
Yeah. Numerous decipherment claims over the years.
With their own sets of intriguing details and controversies, no doubt.
Exactly.
So let's delve into some of the most compelling ones. I am ready for some more twists and turns.
Okay. Well, we can start with William Romain Newbold. Back in the 1920s, he claimed that the Voynich manuscript was written by Roger Bacon, a 13th century philosopher and alchemist. And his theory revolved around the idea that the script was actually made up of microscopic markings.
Microscopic markings. Wow. Talk about dedication. So was he right? Did he uncover the secret of the Voynich manuscript?
Unfortunately, no. His theory was later debunked by other researchers, but it is a great example of how the Voynich manuscript has inspired such passionate and creative attempts at decipherment.
Right, okay, so microscopic markings are out.
Yeah.
What other approaches have people taken?
Well, another interesting one came from Lionel C. Strong, who was a cancer researcher who believed he had found a mathematical key to the Voynich manuscript, and his translation pointed to the 16th century English author Anthony Ascham as the author of the manuscript.
So we've gone from alchemy to microscopes to math. What did Strong's translation reveal about the manuscript's contents?
So his translation was quite subjective, and it really didn't gain widespread acceptance. While his mathematical approach was really intriguing, a lot of people just felt his interpretation of the text was too speculative.
So the mystery continues. I love it. All right, what other wild ideas have people come up with?
Well, in 2019, Gerard Cheshire made headlines by claiming that he had identified the Voynich manuscript's language as Proto-Romance, a precursor to modern languages like Spanish and Italian, and he even offered a complete translation.
That sounds very promising. Did his theory hold up to scrutiny?
Well, unfortunately, no. Cheshire's methodology and translation faced heavy criticism from the academic community, and he eventually retracted his claims. But it just goes to show just how captivating this puzzle is, and how eager people are to unlock its secrets.
Yeah, it's fascinating how even failed attempts at decipherment can still teach us something new. You know, speaking of trying to understand this manuscript, haven't there been some theories about who might have authored it?
Yes. The authorship of the Voynich manuscript is as much a mystery as its contents, and there have been several candidates proposed, often based on the manuscript's potential origins or connections to certain historical figures.
Okay, I'm ready. Give me some names. Give me some theories.
Okay, well, one of the earliest potential owners of the manuscript was Rudolf II, who was the Holy Roman Emperor. He was known to be fascinated by alchemy and the occult, and supposedly paid a substantial sum for the Voynich manuscript.
It's amazing to think that this book passed through the hands of emperors. What would an emperor want with a book he couldn't even read?
Well, perhaps he believed it held some kind of secret knowledge or magical power. And this connection to Rudolf II has fueled speculation that the author might be someone who moved in those circles, perhaps someone who was trying to win the emperor's favor.
I can picture it now. A shadowy figure, cloaked in mystery, presenting this strange book to a curious emperor, whispering tales of its hidden powers.
Right.
It really sets the scene.
And there are some intriguing candidates who fit that image. There's been speculation about Roger Bacon, the 13th century philosopher and alchemist that we mentioned earlier, or maybe John Dee and his associate Edward Kelly, advisors to Queen Elizabeth I, who were known for their interest in the occult.
Okay, so we're talking alchemy, espionage, maybe even magic.
It's important to remember these are just theories, but they are grounded in the historical context of the manuscript's potential creation. Another interesting connection is Jacobus Sinapius, who was Rudolf II's imperial distiller and curator of botanical gardens. And some suggest that the manuscript might actually be a botanical text, which would align with Sinapius's expertise.
Okay, so we have royalty, we have alchemy, we have espionage, we have botany. Hold on. There's another theory, right? That the whole thing is fake.
Yes. The forgery theory has persisted over the years. Some researchers believe that the Voynich manuscript might have been created to deceive Emperor Rudolf II, maybe by someone hoping to profit from his interest in the esoteric sphere.
Wow. So not only do we have this unreadable book, we might not even be sure it was ever meant to be read. This manuscript keeps throwing twists and turns. Every answer leads to more questions.
Yeah, but even if it were a forgery, the level of artistry and complexity involved in creating it would be truly remarkable. It would raise the question, how did someone in the 15th century possess the knowledge and skill to create such a sophisticated hoax?
Right. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface of the Voynich manuscript's mysteries. What stands out to you the most after digging into all of this material? What has surprised you the most about this manuscript and the attempts over the centuries to understand it?
I think for me, it's the sheer resilience of the Voynich manuscript as an enigma. You know, despite all the theories and all the attempts at decipherment, it has just stubbornly refused to give up its secrets.
Like a challenge to the human intellect.
Exactly. It reminds us that there are still mysteries in the world that defy easy answers, and that the process of exploration can be just as fascinating as the destination.
And sometimes even more so. Speaking of exploration, there's another fascinating decipherment claim that we need to discuss. One that suggests the Voynich manuscript may hold secrets about women's health.
You're talking about the work of Nicholas Gibbs. He approached the Voynich manuscript with the assumption that it was written in a natural language, not a code. And he was particularly intrigued by the illustrations, many of which seemed to depict plants and bathing scenes.
So he skipped over all the cipher theories and went straight to language. That's a bold move.
Yeah, it was. And his hypothesis was that the manuscript might be a kind of herbal or medicinal guide. He noticed certain words appearing repeatedly, alongside illustrations of women bathing, suggesting a possible connection to women's health.
So using the illustrations as a guide, I mean, that seems quite different from the approaches that we've discussed so far, like focusing on codes and ciphers. What are the advantages and disadvantages of using those illustrations as a guide?
I mean, using the illustrations as a guide can be really helpful in grounding the interpretation in the visual context of the manuscript. But, it's important to remember that illustrations can be symbolic and open to multiple interpretations.
Yeah, you don't want to impose your own assumptions on the images.
Exactly.
So how did Gibbs go about actually deciphering the text using this approach?
Well, he very meticulously analyzed the recurring words and their placement within the manuscript. And one word, when transliterated into Roman characters, resembled the Latin word for tail, which led him to the Latin word cauda, which can also refer to the tailbone or coccyx.
Interesting. So he's using his knowledge of Latin and anatomy to try to piece together the meaning. Were there other clues like this that he found?
Yes. He also identified another word, associated with the astrological sign Taurus, which led him to the Latin word taurus, meaning bulge or swelling, which he theorized could be related to pregnancy.
Okay, I'm seeing where he's going with this. Women, bathing, tailbone, pregnancy. Is he suggesting that this is a guide for pregnancy and childbirth?
That's precisely what Gibbs proposes. He believes the Voynich Manuscript is a medieval health and wellness guide for women, offering advice on topics like menstruation, pregnancy, childbirth, and the use of herbs for various ailments.
Wow, that is a fascinating concept. I mean, it really reframes our understanding of the manuscript's purpose and audience. But how does he explain all the strange, fantastical elements of the illustrations? I mean, those don't exactly scream practical health guide.
Right. That's one of the main criticisms of Gibbs's theory. He argues that the fantastical elements could be symbolic, representing concepts related to the female body and reproductive cycle. Or they could be purely decorative, intended to make the manuscript more visually appealing.
Okay, that's a fair point. It seems like there's always room for interpretation when dealing with a text as mysterious as the Voynich manuscript. So are other researchers buying into Gibbs's theory? Is this finally the solution to the Voynich mystery?
Well, as with all previous decipherment claims, there's always a mix of excitement and skepticism. Some researchers are definitely intrigued by Gibbs' approach, and they find his translation compelling. Others remain unconvinced, pointing out that his methodology relies heavily on subjective interpretation, and that some of his linguistic connections seem tenuous.
So the debate rages on. But I have to admit, the idea of the Voynich manuscript being a window into a hidden world of women's knowledge in the Middle Ages is incredibly captivating. It really challenges our assumptions about what kinds of texts existed in the past, who they were written for.
Absolutely. It also raises questions about why such a text would be written in a seemingly coded or obscure language. Was it meant to keep this knowledge secret from certain groups? Or was it simply a reflection of the unique ways knowledge was recorded and transmitted in that era?
Those are great questions. It seems like the Voynich manuscript, even if deciphered, might still hold on to some of its mystery. But I think what's so captivating about this manuscript is that it inspires us to think differently, to question what we think we know about history, and to be open to the possibility of uncovering lost voices and perspectives.
Yeah, it reminds us that there are many untold stories waiting to be discovered, and that the past is full of surprises.
Speaking of surprises, let's talk about another intriguing decipherment claim. This one takes us on a journey from the world of medieval manuscripts to the realm of ancient Greek botany. Have you heard of Elisa Gladyseva and her theory about the Voynich manuscript?
Yes. Elisa Gladyseva. She offers a very unique interpretation of the manuscript, suggesting that the key to unlocking its secrets lies in the nomenclature of plants, found in the works of ancient Greek botanists, like Dioscorides and Theophrastus.
Ancient Greece? That seems like a surprising connection. I thought the manuscript was believed to be from 15th century Italy.
Yeah, that is the generally accepted view. But Gladyseva argues that the knowledge of Greek plant names could survive through various channels, including, the transmission of ancient texts and just the influence of Greek culture in different parts of Europe.
So she's suggesting a kind of continuity of botanical knowledge from the ancient world to the Middle Ages. But how does she actually connect this to the Voynich script? I mean, that seems like a pretty big leap.
It is a rather complex theory. She uses a combination of factors to support her decipherment, including the colors used in the illustration, the morphology of the plants depicted, and the identification of words that she believes are medieval Galician.
Medieval Galician, that's a language from northwestern Spain, right?
Yeah.
So now we're adding another language to the mix. This is getting complex.
Yeah. Gladiseva's theory involves tracing connections across different time periods, cultures, and languages. She suggests that medieval Galician, which was once very prominent in the Kingdom of Aragon, drew on a blend of Latin, medieval Castilian, and even Occitan, creating a very unique linguistic environment.
So it's almost like a linguistic tapestry, woven from all these different threads of history. But how does she tie all of this together to decipher the Voynich manuscript?
So Gladiseva claims that by identifying words in medieval Galician and cross-referencing those with the morphology and colors of the plants depicted in the manuscript, she has been able to decode the entire text.
The entire text. That is a bold claim. What does the Voynich manuscript reveal? According to her decipherment,
So Gladiseva believes that the manuscript is essentially a comprehensive index of plant nomenclature, a botanical encyclopedia, containing detailed descriptions of various plants and their properties. She even argues that the author of the Voynich manuscript surpasses Dioscorides in the level of detail provided about certain plants.
okay, so hold on. So she's saying the Voynich manuscript is like this secret plant-based code. But instead of being about magic or alchemy, it's all about botany.
Essentially, yes. She proposes that the cipher involves a complex interplay of botanical imagery, linguistic elements from multiple languages, and a polyalphabetic cipher.
Wow.
It is a highly intricate theory, to say the least.
Yeah, that's incredible. Can you give us a specific example of her decipherment method? Like, has she been able to translate any passages that other researchers agree on?
So one of the examples Gladiseva highlights is the word root, and she claims that the concept of a root is depicted in various ways throughout the manuscript, including in the form of a tarantula spider, which she sees as a zoomorphic representation.
A tarantula as a root. That is some creative symbolism. How does she explain that connection?
She links it to the historical context of tarantism, which was a phenomenon attributed to the bite of a tarantula that was believed to cause a kind of madness or frenzy. And she suggests that this connection might reflect the potent properties of certain roots and their ability to affect the human body and mind.
So she's weaving together botany, history, and folklore to support her interpretation. This is a fascinatingly intricate theory, but how does she account for the fact that no one else has been able to decipher the manuscript using this approach?
Well, Gladiseva argues that the cipher itself is incredibly complex, involving multiple layers of encryption and requiring a deep understanding of both ancient Greek botany and medieval Galician. She claims it took her over a decade to crack the code.
A decade. I mean, that's certainly a testament to her dedication and passion for this mystery. But has there been any independent verification of her claims? Has anyone else been able to replicate her decipherment?
As with many of the decipherment claims regarding the Voynich manuscript, Gladiseva's theory has been met with mixed reactions. Some researchers find her approach intriguing, while others have expressed skepticism, calling for more rigorous analysis and independent verification of her findings.
It seems like the Voynich manuscript isn't willing to give up its secrets easily, no matter how creative the decipherment attempts. But it really is inspiring to see how this one manuscript has fueled so much research, debate, and intellectual curiosity.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the enduring power of mystery and the human desire to understand the unknown.
It reminds us that sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination. But before we wrap up our discussion, there's one more intriguing twist in the Voynich saga that we need to explore. A theory that connects the manuscript to a historical figure known for his alleged ability to communicate with spirits and to transmute base metals into gold.
Are you talking about Edward Kelly, the alchemist and associate of John Dee?
That's the one. Kelly was a fascinating character, known for his dramatic alchemical demonstrations and claims of supernatural abilities.
He's definitely a figure shrouded in intrigue. His alleged ability to communicate with spirits and his involvement in alchemical experiments make him a pretty fitting character to be associated with the Voynich manuscript.
Right. And remember how we discussed the theory that the Voynich manuscript might be a forgery created to deceive Emperor Rudolph II. Well, some researchers believe that Edward Kelly might have been the mastermind behind this scheme.
It's a pretty captivating idea. We know that Kelly and Dee spent time in Prague, the seat of Rudolph II's court, and they even attempted to use their supposed alchemical skills to win the emperor's favor and gain his patronage.
So Kelly, being the showman that he was, might have concocted this elaborate manuscript full of strange symbols and indecipherable text, and presented it to Rudolph as some lost alchemical secret.
It's certainly plausible. Imagine Kelly with his flair for the dramatic, claiming that the manuscript held the key to transmuting lead into gold, or contained powerful magical formulas. Rudolph, who was eager to expand his collection of esoteric knowledge, might have been easily swayed.
It would have been a brilliant con, especially considering Rudolph II's fascination with alchemy and the occult.
Precisely. This theory suggests that the Voynich Manuscript might not be a scientific treatise, a coded message, or even a health guide. It could be a cleverly crafted piece of theater, designed to impress and deceive.
A 15th century version of a get-rich-quick scheme. But even if it is a hoax, the level of sophistication and artistry involved is really remarkable. It raises questions about Kelly's knowledge and how he managed to create a text that has stumped experts for centuries.
Right. That's one of the most captivating aspects of this theory. It suggests that even if the Voynich Manuscript isn't what we initially believed it to be, it still represents a remarkable feat of creativity and ingenuity.
So after all this digging, all these theories, all these twists and turns, are we any closer to solving the Voynich riddle?
I wouldn't say we have a definitive answer, but we certainly explored a wide range of possibilities and gained a deeper appreciation for the manuscript's enduring power to fascinate and perplex. Each theory, whether ultimately proven or disproven, sheds light on different aspects of history, language, and the human imagination.
It's like we've journeyed through a labyrinth of ideas, encountering dead ends, hidden passages, and tantalizing clues along the way.
And that's a fitting analogy for the Voynich Manuscript itself. It's a mystery that invites us to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep searching for answers.
So what does this all mean? What takeaways do you find most valuable after this deep dive?
I think the most important takeaway is the importance of humility in the face of the unknown. The Voynich Manuscript reminds us that there are still mysteries in the world that may never be fully solved, and that's okay. It's the process of exploration, the willingness to challenge assumptions, and the pursuit of knowledge that truly matters.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. And it leads me to a final thought for our listeners to ponder. We've explored all these fascinating theories. But what if we step outside the box for a moment? What if the Voynich Manuscript is something entirely different from what we've imagined so far? What if it's a work of art, meant to evoke emotions and spark the imagination, rather than convey a literal message? What if it's a product of a unique mind, a window into a way of seeing the world? That we may never fully comprehend. Perhaps that's the true magic of the Voynich Manuscript. It invites us to embrace the unknown, to question our assumptions, and to marvel at the enduring power of mystery. And if this deep dive into the Voynich Manuscript has ignited your curiosity, don't forget to check out our other episodes. The All Sorts podcast is your passport to a world of fascinating topics, from the mysteries of ancient civilizations to the latest breakthroughs in science and technology. You can find us on YouTube, where you can like, share, and subscribe to join our growing community of knowledge seekers. We're also on Instagram, and Threads. So be sure to follow us there to stay connected and join the conversation. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.